The Indo-Pacific region, a vital trade and security artery, is the stage for growing partnership between the US and India, united by shared democratic values. They are committed to a free, open, and inclusive Indo-Pacific region. This partnership is marked by a deep alignment of interests and values, significantly boosting collaboration. Their multifaceted cooperation spans economic prosperity, security, and climate action. High level engagements and summits emphasize the importance of multi-sectoral cooperation through platforms like the Quad, bringing together major maritime democracies to address regional challenges and promote a rules based order. This strategic alliance extends beyond mutual defense to economic collaboration, maritime domain awareness, and upholding international law.
It is important, significant, relevant, and appropriate that India and the US are together in some of the key challenges that is unfolding in Indo-Pacific, a region where we want to play a big role. Recall the World War II, 1943. The guns were barking, the bombs were exploding. Pandit Nehru was in jail. He was writing his pigeon diary where he aspired that India should play an important role in the Asia and the Pacific region. Later, with the evolution of the Cold War, we are not able to do that. All our vision, all our activities, all our engagement got confined to South Asia. But the moment the Cold War ended, again, India adopted a policy of look east because that is an important area. And when Modi ji came to power, he said, why look east? Act east. And from Act East today, we have the Indo-Pacific. And Indo-Pacific is an important area where India can, should, and already is playing a lot of role. So in this region where you have so many nuclear weapon powers, Pakistan, China, North Korea, India, the United States, this is an area which is actually the center of gravity of global political economy today, not European Union.
We work closely with the Indian government on some of our most vital priorities, and these include things that you had just heard about, but also in general terms, increasing mutual prosperity, countering the climate crisis, upholding a free, open, and secure Indo-Pacific, and maintaining a rules-based order grounded in international law with respect for human rights. And all of these things we're working on in multiple facets to include with the Quad, which is something I'm sure most of you know about. But few areas of our bilateral relationship have seen as much progress as the defense relationship. Over the last 2 decades, the US has become a significant supplier of defense equipment to India and become India's largest military exercise partner. And I'm looking forward to Tiger Triumph, which is we'll be doing that in Vizag with the Eastern Naval Command just coming up in March. The bilateral defense trade with India has grown exponentially year on year. We were close to zero in 2008. And that's about 25 billion now at the end of 2023. And that's at a remarkable jump just in 15 years only. Several US aerospace companies have established partnerships with Indian counterparts, facilitating technology transfer and enhancing indigenous defense production capabilities, including some work that's taking place here in Hyderabad. Both Boeing and Lockheed Martin have set up joint ventures here with Tata, and I think we'll be hearing from some of their implementers as well today. And I've had a chance to visit both, and what an impressive array of production is coming out. And just the diversity also of the workforce, I have to say, is really something to be commended. The relationship, of course, is more than just defense sales. Together, we have taken steps to improve interoperability. And this includes the exercise I just mentioned, and coordinated and signed technical agreements to further expand India's access to high-end American defense technology. So increasing joint services cooperation is also demonstrated by the increase in US-India military exercises, as I mentioned, upcoming Tiger Triumph and Vizag. And these have helped our navies work effectively side by side in providing disaster relief for communities devastated by tsunamis or earthquakes or floods across the region. And in fact, it was one of the tsunamis that devastated the Indo-Pacific almost 20 years ago that first brought the Quad countries together in a joint effort to do exactly this type of humanitarian assistance. So the reason for the growth in trade and interoperability is because the Indo-Pacific is crucial to the future of both India and the United States. Our Secretary of State and our President both like to say that America is a Pacific nation. And what's interesting is sometimes the idea of the Indo-Pacific for both India and the US differs a little bit. We don't necessarily take it all the way to, say, the Eastern Africa, but we're doing more and more together in that area as well as we kind of enhance the definition of what does the Indo-Pacific mean. The Secretary Blinken has also said the Indo-Pacific region will shape the trajectory of the world in the 21st century, and I think that's exactly correct. In May this past year, President Biden and Prime Minister Modi affirmed the commitment of the 4 maritime democracies of the Quad to advancing a positive and constructive agenda for peace and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific. The US-India Major Defense Partnership has become a pillar of global peace and security today, just in the 8 years since it was first announced. Achieving the full potential of this strategic partnership from deep below the water to far above the atmosphere and across the vast scope of human endeavor in health, energy, education, and security is immensely consequential for all of us.
And India is our strong ally in the Indo-Pacific and the Quad. President Biden and Prime Minister Modi recommitted themselves to empowering the Quad as a partnership for global good. The two leaders welcomed the progress made at the Hiroshima summit in May among the 4 maritime democracies to further advance a positive and constructive agenda for peace and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific. The leaders welcomed progress on the Indo-Pacific Partnership for Maritime Domain Awareness, through which Quad partners are providing maritime domain data across the Indian Ocean, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific regions. The Quad, to be hosted in India in 2024, would be another opportunity to continue the dialogue and consolidate cooperation. The leaders committed to continue working in partnership with regional platforms such as the Indian Ocean Rim Association, Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative, and ASEAN to achieve shared aspirations and address shared challenges in the Indo-Pacific region. The US and India reiterated their enduring commitment to a free, open, inclusive, peaceful, and prosperous Indo-Pacific region with respect for territorial integrity and sovereignty and international law.
The evolving dynamics of the Indo-Pacific have necessitated a re-evaluation of strategic alliances, particularly in response to China's assertive rise. The US-India partnership has gained unprecedented momentum, extended beyond traditional defense cooperation to including cutting-edge technologies, economic integration, and regional stability initiatives.
I think since 2012 and more so after 2020, the Galwan incident, India has taken the China threat more seriously, has decided to overcome some of its own hesitations in moving ahead with the United States. So in certain matters, the US does see India's Atmanirbharta as a challenge to this procurement process, the FMS route and all. But I think the recent road to ISET has, and the steps which have been enunciated has set a minds at rest in both countries. And what we see is that there has been unprecedented public-private partnerships in semiconductors, advanced telecommunications, quantum computing, civilian space technology. So I think with these task forces having been put and a mechanism established, I think the US-India strategy seems to be to ensure continuity beyond 2024.
I think what is driving this is the fact that the way China is rising, and I use the word rising because for a long, long time, the US assumed that China's rise will be peaceful. Now, this rise is not only in terms of expansionism that we are seeing in the South China Sea, for that matter, coercion of Taiwan, economic coercion of Australia, what we are seeing across the line of actual control for India. So it is literally in every domain, whether it is in politics, whether it is in economics, it's moving very fast.
Going it alone, global international order, the Indo-Pacific region has a critical role. As I've said, I spent the last 10 years living in South Asia and the Indo-Pacific, and it's clear when you look towards the future that this region is only going to become more important in global affairs. The region's home to more than half the world's people, nearly 2/3 of the world's largest economies, and 7 of the 10 largest militaries. Today, Indo-Pacific nations are to define the very nature of the international order, with implications for countries far beyond the shores of the Indian and Pacific Ocean.
When we examine the new international order, the Indo-Pacific region plays a pivotal and significantly increasingly critical role. It's clear that when you look toward the future, the Indo-Pacific's prominence in global affairs is only going to intensify. The richly diverse region is home to more than half the population of the world, nearly 2/3 of the world's economy, and 7 of the world's 10 largest militaries. Presently, Indo-Pacific nations, including India, are helping to define the very nature of the international order, with implications for countries far beyond the shores of the Indian and Pacific Oceans. Early last year, in 2022, the White House published the U.S. Indo-Pacific Strategy, highlighted our commitment to work alongside allies and partners to maintain a region that is free and open, connected, prosperous, secure, and resilient. One of the most salient features of this strategy, as I previously alluded to, is the recognition that this goal cannot be achieved alone. As we increasingly see more provocative behavior by some actors throughout the region, from the Taiwan Strait to the South China Sea to the Swahili Coast, testing the norms of responsible international conduct. These work challenges require an unprecedented level of cooperation with like-minded allies and partners who share in the vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific region. In this particular endeavor, the United States is proud to work alongside India's leadership in South Asia, Indian Ocean, as a driving force of the Quad and other multinational fora, and as an engine for regional growth and development. India has the largest GDP, as previously mentioned, of any major economy, with a young population that helps make the analogy of this country. The United States is steadfast in continuing to build a strategic partnership in which both of our nations work together and through regional groupings to promote stability in South Asia, as well as increased collaboration in new domains such as health, space, even cyberspace, even our economic and technological movement, and finally to contribute to a free and open Indo-Pacific.
Just to end with on how India and US, they can collaborate in Southeast Asia, looking further into the perspective of the Indo-Pacific region is definitely the Quad partnership. But what do we bring in the Quad partnership? It can aim to enhance, but also engage in dialogues with our other dialogue partners like ASEAN +3, ASEAN +6. We can look much beyond it. Economic cooperation, definitely. And then the security cooperation, where we seem to be doing very well, diplomatic outreach, infrastructure development, but not just that, but also on the softer aspects of diplomacy, where we get to understand the two countries better.
The profound US-India partnership highlights their shared interests and values, forging a strong bond. However, India's ties with Russia, Iran, and multilateral initiatives influence the dynamic. Inclusivity in the Indo-Pacific region is crucial for achieving stability, security, and peace. A mature, inclusive approach is needed to address regional challenges effectively. The interconnected world, especially the Indo-Pacific region, underscores the necessity for nations to collaborate and recalibrate strategies to take global issues. As India and the US chart the future, embracing inclusivity and collaboration is vital. Together, they can foster prosperity, security, and peace in the Indo-Pacific region and beyond. This alliance between great democracies has the potential to reshape the geopolitical landscape, ushering in a new era of cooperation for a brighter tomorrow. The partnership between the US and India in the Indo-Pacific region is testament to the deep alignment of interests and values shared by these two nations. As they navigate the evolving dynamics of the region and respond to global challenges, their collaborative efforts serve as a beacon of stability, fostering a vision of prosperity, security, and peace. The evolving nature of this alliance underscores a new era of cooperation, positioning the US and India as key players in shaping the future trajectory of the Indo-Pacific region.
In the multilateral environment, perhaps it is. We need to work to overcome the differences. We need to look at three pillars: stability, security, and peace. Work together. The angle of inclusivity must come in. My personal feeling is that India says an inclusive, open, and free Indo-Pacific, but the word inclusive is missing from most of the US approach. Today, after many years, we are seeing France, Australia, even Japan accepting inclusivity. Inclusivity has to be there if you're going to operate in the Indo-Pacific. Otherwise, it will again just sort of stagger and stumble. And that, I have a feeling, is where the Quad is heading right now. Because the minilaterals have overtaken most of these broad discussions. So I2U2 is one good example where India and US can work together with UAE and Israel. It's a very strange combination because among the four nations, India is the only nation who has actually signed and ratified the UNCLOS and the two implementing agreements. Another interesting factor whether you look to it. There's a recent book by David Bayer, 4 Tests. The 4 tests that US needs to cross to keep US good and strong. I just started reading it. It was, I think, released a month and a half back in the US. Your ambassador was present there. So David Bayer says that the US needs to look at 4 factors: scale, investment, identity, and fairness. I'm still reading the book. I've just got past chapter 1. I think there's a lesson for both the US and India in this. Inclusivity is one aspect I've given. Understanding Indian requirements. Reciprocity by India on what is the US requirements.
Is I think US actually placed a good bet on India. India has not only the capability, it placed a strategic bet on India. I'm sure many of you have read certain articles which says that India will only look to its interests if there is a clash on the Taiwan Straits. We may not do it. So all kinds of debates are going on, which is exciting time for young people and the old. It's a very exciting time to be involved in international politics, international relations, to understand and so on. But the fact remains that US has made a strategic bet on India, and I think that's really a wise choice.
So the question is, why? Why now? What is different? What is changing? Where do we take this momentum? It's clear to me, and I think to those who observe the relationship, that we are seeing an awareness and a convergence of both common interests and common values. And an understanding that this partnership is important not just for the two countries who occupy it, but for the region and the world, because we live in an interconnected world. We live in an interconnected region. What happens in the Indo-Pacific region matters for the rest of the globe. And as we all know from the news and our experience in our own relationships, what happens in other parts of the world has an impact here too. So as we look towards driving growth, increasing prosperity, working on climate change, and we see dire evidence of the worsening impact of climate change every day, including here in Chennai during Cyclone Mashong a couple of months ago. Maintaining a rules-based order which supports international law and respects human rights, and maintaining a secure and open Indo-Pacific. These things all matter. They affect everybody in the world, and India and the United States have a chance to drive them in our bilateral relationship as well as through mechanisms like the Quad.